What's going on, everybody? With Queen of Macherie announced for this week and then her VC/Esper Sheraton coming out the week after, there's a lot of information that we need to get through, and you need to know if she's any good. Should you be pulling for her, or likely not, given that we have all of these limited banners coming up after her. So we're going to go through all of the information that you need to know, not a full breakdown of her kit, but just basically the pros and cons of Macherie and talk about some other important information regarding her. Right, so the first thing that we need to talk about are the pros for Queen Macherie, and she does have quite a bit. She's actually a stronger unit than a lot of people are assuming. The biggest thing that she has going against her is her element. She's an earth unit, and that definitely is a problem. So let's talk first about her survivability, because it is pretty decent with 2 cast re-raise that also restores your CT similar to the global buff that Zazan got, and then also gives her a 550 casting time reduction. So that's a really big boost to make her casts near instant cast, and then also she's going to act sooner. When you think about that, with you actually use her with Zazan, then let's say an AoE kills both of them, then they're both likely to go even sooner, and then maybe counter attack and actually win a fight. So that's kind of a big deal, I think. She's also got great all-around stats and a very good slash and missile resist to build off of, so those are both at 15%. And then she has a protect buff on a TP skill, so she's definitely better against physical damage, but she doesn't have bad magic resistances. Really, the big thing that she's most weak against is going to be Pierce, which actually seems to be the new strike for a lot of units. Next up, we can talk about her damage, and there's quite a bit to talk about here. She's got good spirit penetration, she's got a spirit break, and she even has a skill that has its own spirit penetration. So when it comes to spirit, it's not going to be a problem for her. She can also break magic barriers. The issue will be with her magic penetration, but that actually gets mitigated a bit because she has a powerful magic scaling strike attack that has a 30% HP absorb on it as well. This means that she can hit a lot of units' weaknesses, or just where they're not building any sort of resistance, and that's a big deal. The only issue with it is that it's a 3 caster, so it's not dependable on multiple guild fights in a row if it is the skill that she's using most often. Otherwise, she has a very high innate counter chance prevention, so that's actually a damage effect as well, because when you look at all the units that, there's lots of units with reflex that you're not even just hitting at all, but there's also a lot of units with things that reduce physical or magic or both types of damage, and those just don't proc. She's dealing more damage. Her LB also has a really big earth imperil, and we've seen that those imperils are pretty significant, especially when you have a full elemental party. So definitely she's going to be a unit that's dealing lots of damage as long as they don't have super high magic resist, and then also strike resistance for some reason. And then finally, she's got a lot of utility because she has some healing capabilities from Arithmetician, but she also has a healing spell that gives a 20% elemental resistance buff as well. And that's a significant defensive buff. So if her AI allows her to use that, maybe it's the start of Guild Battle 2, or maybe it's going to be something that she uses when she's actually not able to attack somebody. I don't know what her AI is exactly, so that's kind of an issue. But that's a really big buff, and a manual, obviously, that's a huge deal. She's also got Time Mage sub, so you can make her into a haste bot. She doesn't have Quicken, unfortunately, but she can just get haste up on everybody, which is a very big deal. She also has a skill, the one that has the spirit penetration, that gives a big buff to the summon gauge. So that means that you're going to be able to summon Espers more quickly, and those Espers have 100% hit attacks and all sorts of buffs and debuffs for yourself and for your enemies. She also has an accuracy passive and a 30% chance increased hit skill, so that's a really good indication that she'll be able to hit evasive units, and we love to see it. I also quickly wanted to mention her TMR because it's kind of interesting. It's a cloth with 2 uses, and it gives 20 defense, 20% missile resist. It's got a big range. You love to see the 2 casts, and while it's very specific, I think manual players will love to see this, and certain metas, like the meta that's coming up with lots of ice missile units, this is going to be a great TMR for that meta. Now, before we move on to the cons, please consider liking the video and leaving a comment what you think about Queen Macherie, if you're going to be pulling or if you're going to be saving. And if you're going to be saving, who are you saving for? Seriously, I want to know. Okay, so the cons, there are a few cons for Queen Macherie. I mean, so I've put wind is very strong currently, and I hate putting element as a con because everybody has a weakness, but it is a really big deal in terms of what Earth gets in the future. There's just one strike unit coming out in the future and not a lot else, but also just lots of wind support right now. So it's a tricky time to be playing Earth, and that should scare off some players, but the players that want to play Earth, that know what they're doing, that's not going to be a huge deal because I think that there's lots of little areas for Earth to sneak into the meta, especially in things like Arena. So the other cons for her, she has high potency skills, but they all have cast times on them. And at the end of the day, even if you reduce your cast time, when you're up against fast units, that is a disadvantage. Her strike skill has a cast time on it. She also has no magic resistance penetration. She does have the strike attack. We talked about how it doesn't have a lot of uses. A really big global buff would have been to give it some extra uses, but it basically means you're going to need to supplement that magic resist penetration from some runes or some other type of source that we get in the future or something, because it is going to be a weakness of hers. All right, so I'm going to bring up a graphic now that compares Queen Macherie to Dark Fina and Sadali, and I think that these are our two most recent magic units that are appropriate to compare her to, and you can see that they're really all in the same range for a lot of stats. The one thing that really pulls Macherie away from these two just is the fact that she gets that superior speed, but also the superior accuracy. So she has those one over Fina, one over Sadali. Now her HP is just okay. She does have AoE resist on her kit. I don't think I mentioned that. There's no innate defense or spirit, but she's got the protect, she's got the re-raise, she's got the AoE resist. So she's got survivability that she can tap into. But the other thing to mention again is that she's got decent resists across the board, except for the pierce resist. That is a weakness of hers. But when you look at these two other units, and you can see that Sadali really is more support based than the other two, although again, they both have support sub jobs. Like everybody here has the ability to go into support mode depending on how you set them up. There's really no reason why Queen Macherie can't be just as strong as these other two units in terms of dealing damage. There's the biggest problem is just kind of the meta that she's found herself in, and the fact that she has more cast times on her seriously hard-hitting skills aside from her LB than these other two units. Rather than do a video next week, we'll just talk about Sheraton, the VC, and the Esper right now, and it's the same kind of information I did in my monthly breakdown video, but basically we're looking at a card that has bestowed accuracy and AoE resist, which is very good. The global exclusive effect that we now know is the missile resist up and HP up, and I love that. That's really good to see. It basically plays to Macherie's strengths already because she already has good missile resist, and that actually would be good for Luel as well, who would be another candidate for this card, and they both can use more HP. Now the magic up and the slash resist, the 25 accuracy, that's such a good party effect. This is a really strong Earth card, and I think that if you're hard on Earth, if you're big into Earth, then you're going to love this card. You're going to be pulling for it for the future, unless you're someone that picks things up later and is patient or uses things like select VC bundles or whatever else that you can get things in the game, because there are other ways to get this. But I think that it is something you can leave, because if you're into Earth, but there's not really a lot of magic Earth units that you're using right now, and there's not any on the horizon, then there's lots of time to pull this later. You do also get a very good Esper. I think it's a great Esper because it has AoE resist on its board. It also has slash resist on its board and crit evasion, so there's a very defensive build possible through this Esper, but it also has magic attack up. So at the end of the day, like, it's not a bad Esper VC to get, but it is something you could probably leave unless you were going to go for Macherie or really wanted to boost up your Luel. Now, Dreams of Heroism, which is a very nice card for Earth units, gets a Macherie global upgrade here. So Macherie, the Queen Macherie, is included on this card now. It means that she gets magic resistance up and agility up, and we love to see it because she had 5% magic resistance up. Now she gets more. It's just solving one of her slight weaknesses, not even a weakness, just makes her even more resistant to magic, and then she gets even faster. So this is a great upgrade. This is a card that she would likely hold a lot of the time anyway, because then you would be able to get the AoE resist for your entire Earth team, and then maybe you put Sheraton as a sub card to still take advantage of quite a bit of magic percent up. With all that said, it's time to decide whether or not you should be pulling for Macherie, and I am not personally going to be recommending her to you. I think it's too risky to pull for her right now for most players at this point because she's not limited. There's a lot of win units in the meta that are prevalent right now, and because most importantly, we're just expecting a lot of limited units to come out soon, so it's just a tough time for Macherie. It's really bad timing. Now, dedicated players, dedicated Earth players are still likely going to want her, and as long as you're okay with the difficulty she might have, you have to understand this, that she is a very powerful unit. She's going to be a high damage unit, and don't be surprised if she takes care of some ice and lightning teams in the near future. So personally, I would love to add a Macherie to my account. Now, I'm going to practice patience and hope I get her later, but she is a cool unit. I do like her aesthetic. I do like her actual kit and some of the skills that she has, but I just can't really prioritize that for my account, because if I pull my account in too many different directions, I'm going to end up nowhere. So I'm going to take a break from pulling this week, and I suggest that a lot of you do as well. Otherwise, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, you know, there's all the things that you can do to show that you support the channel: liking the video, commenting, and subscribing. I appreciate all of it, especially if you made it this far in the video. It means you liked it, right? Hopefully. I don't know. But otherwise, I'll be back soon enough with another video. See you all then.